All right, the broadcast is starting, so let me go ahead and give the introduction. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. If you're lucky enough to be watching this live, you're watching an unedited, unhindered, just raw version of a discussion that's going to happen between family members. We're talking about religion today. You are watching the logical conclusion. You also have Tell It Like It Is here, so that's like another very popular, up and coming young black YouTube channel that belongs to my cousin Dave, the doctor. Right. So, anyway, today's discussion is religion. Uh, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panel from left to right. I have, well, this is a household over here. It's my father, who just happens to be sitting next to his grandson, which happens to be my son. That's on the left. Next, we have coming right, we have a young fighter. I'm pretty sure he's still excited about the John Jones victory last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, my younger cousin Jordan, also a very intellectual mind.
About to say I'm more than just a fighter. Like, come on, show me a little respect here.
There you
No,
go.
I'm joking.
I better show him some respect, or else. Coming further to the right, we have my brother, Rotten, retired military, also.
Not retired, just a veteran.
Okay, you go, a veteran, and also. Now, what are you doing now, Rotten? What kind of work?
Hmm?
What kind of work are you doing now?
I'm doing a program. I'm program analyst for the Small Business Administration.
So supposedly a smart guy.
Huh?
Supposedly a smart guy, right?
That's what my MBA tells me.
All right, we'll keep moving to the right. We have another cousin who happens to be the older brother of Jordan, who purports to be what, a doctor?
Something like that.
Yeah, another intellectual mind. And then there's little old me sitting up here somewhere in Canada. All right. The conversation for the third time, I mentioned this for the third time, the conversation is religion. Not necessarily Christianity, but we want to make it about Christianity because I believe everybody call themselves a Christian, or we were all raised in the Christian faith. Right. However, not all of us. Actually, that's a good segue because all of us weren't raised in the Christian faith. Dad, you want to go ahead and give an introduction to who you are, how you were raised, and what your beliefs are now?
Yeah, I was, of course, raised as a black Muslim, as you guys probably know. I don't know.
He froze up.
Muslim.
Hey, so
black Muslim. It was important for me when I married a Christian woman to determine why these ignorant Christians were always on my back about going to church, and they still do it. You know, they haven't changed. They're on my back about going to church. They're on my back about this, and then Jehovah's Witnesses jumped in there. So I decided to do a study of the Bible because one of the things that Muslims.
Oh man.
All right, he's freezing up for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, go someplace. You might have to come out the basement. Go
Yeah,
someplace.
the basement probably has bad connection.
Because you're actually breaking up.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Okay. To make a long story short, I did some in-depth studies into the Bible. I believe in the Bible. I am a Christian. I'm a deacon at a church, but that does not compare. It pales in comparison to actually knowing the Word of God, which a lot of Christians don't know. I was impressed by my grandson, and he feels that he's an evangelist, but I feel like he's a pretty mean evangelist. You know, I think he's got to soften up a little bit and let God really do the evangelizing.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
Maybe.
Hey, Antoine.
Yeah.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and your beliefs.
Yeah, so I'm just Antoine Lewis, your son. And this art Christianity when I was young, actually. I was with my mom most of the time, so I had like more or less a back and forth relationship. I didn't really study or read the Bible, and really back then I had a lot of pride in myself. So, I felt like some of the stories in it were mocking my intellect. Once you start to read into it and have faith, you start to get the whole world view of what happened years ago.
Okay. Good, clean cut. Short to the point. All right, we'll keep moving to the right. Hey, Jordan, go ahead and you know what? I said we go by precedence of age. That'd be Rodney. Go ahead, Rodney.
Rodney.
All right. So I was raised a Christian pretty much my whole life. Of course, I've been in the Army for I did 16 years in the Army or whatever, and got to spend some time on my own, kind of just experiencing and learning and studying things. So I'm still find myself a Christian. I've opened my mind up to other, I guess, beliefs. Not to say that I've taken those beliefs in, but I do understand there are other beliefs. I believe there is a very good reason we have religion, right? I think religion has a certain purpose that needs to be served in human existence, human possibility. Just like religions have pretty much run countries, religions have overthrown governments. So I think religion is a good part of what keeps a lot of people in the proper behavior, right? Because they kind of describe how society should run, most religions. So yeah, I believe religion is important. I'm still a Christian. I believe there are other things out there, there are other ways to believe, and I'm open to them. But
Can I ask you a question? Are you glad that Donald Trump is a Christian?
say what?
Are you glad that Donald Trump is a Christian?
I have no idea what Donald Trump is. Realistically, I just know he's the president, and I have to obey his rules as long as I'm working for this United States government. I mean, Donald Trump is not my. Ever since I knew to be president, he was my real focus.
Okay.
All right.
But, yeah.
That's good.
So yeah, I think it's interesting how as we get further and further into the generations, because I believe in science and I believe in studying. I believe there's an explanation for pretty much everything, even religion, even the stories of religion come from somewhere. So yeah, I'm kind of open. I'm a Christian, but it's hard to define myself.
Okay. I think that's pretty common. Hey.
Your mom wanted me to ask you a question. How much have you studied?
How much have I studied? Which one? Which religions?
The Bible.
The Bible? I studied a little bit. I did some reading of my own. Of course, when I was growing up, we did some studying with Jehovah's Witnesses. I started out going to school, a Christian school, where we had to do chapels and learn different stories and things like that. In the Army, especially when I was deployed, I did a lot of studying, especially I think it was the 91st Psalm, and just different things, the kind of the phenomenon around, what's happening with that Psalm. So yeah, I've done a lot of studying. Just because I believe in Jesus and I believe in the power of, God and Jesus and these type of things, I don't put limits on what they can do. So when people say this doesn't make sense or this had to be this way, I don't really put limits on that. And I don't necessarily put all my faith in the stories that people pass down, from one generation to another. Just like my father's a Christian, I'm a Christian. Maybe I'm not as strong a Christian as he is. Maybe my son's not as strong a Christian as I am. I think the stories all change when you go down through history. Even the interpretations change as you go down through history, and as more information becomes available.
Okay. Good way to wrap it up. Dave.
All right, what's going on YouTube? This is Dave with the Tell It Like It Is channel, as my cousin alluded to earlier on.
Plug.
Just a quick plug in.
Hey, I'll be on the Tell It Like It Is too.
Yeah, I'm the co-host. Obviously, Jordan, you're the other host of the channel. But if you could please subscribe to our channel. Good content. Obviously, my cousin from the Logical Conclusion is he typically participates in it. So just real good conversation and building. But yeah, so I was obviously raised as a Christian as well. Both of my parents are deeply religious and spiritual, I would say. And over the years, I've gained more and more information about the Christian faith and about history overall. And what I will say is religion is deeply rooted in faith. And faith is obviously, as Hebrews 11:1 states, the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So with faith, there's no fact within it. So obviously, science cannot corroborate or confirm faith. What is founded in science is considered factual. Faith is obviously is not a continuum with what is considered to be factual or science. So I obviously want to make that statement when it comes to faith. But I think that there is a lot of benefits or a lot of pros that come with religion. One, it helps to establish a moral code for a lot of individuals, a way of living that, when practiced the right way, can be very good and very, very beneficial for an individual or a community. And religion does also assist in trying to establish some sense of order within our society. Obviously, religion can be used for negative purposes as well, and it could create chaos. But when used in its purest form, and I can speak specifically about Christianity, it can help to obtain a certain sense of order within a socio-political structure. But yeah, that's kind of my skinny. And I look forward to this conversation. I think we got a lot of individuals with different ideas based on their learning and their own personal experience with religion. So I think this will be a very, very healthy and positive conversation.
Another invite back.
All right, yeah, I had to send another invite to my parents so they can hop back on. All right, you guys accept that one. You should be able to get back in. They fell off, man. You just said a mouthful, man. That was a whole lot, and I caught some of it, but that seemed to be thus far the best. I think for me, most complete idea of what religion is, especially Black America right now. You have to really be able to separate those two. But Jordan, you are up.
Yo. Yeah. I guess I would just like to start with saying that you guys can hear me, right? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, cool. Because I got this headset on, whatever. And also, I would like to say before I even start, it's awesome to see more bald guys, man. I was thinking I was the only guy losing my hair in this family. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, Rodney, Antoine's losing it. So you know what? Let me take his hat off, man. So now we outnumber the haired people.
David needs to let it go, man.
I'm starting to recede a little bit.
Oh no. Yeah, I had to let it go, man. It was getting rough. It's like I started losing it like 19. I'm like, Jesus.
All right, hello.
Anyway, all right. Yeah, but what I would like to say, I believe, through life experience and research, as David just said, I like to believe that all religions, how about this? Most religions, because I can't speak for all religions or every religion. I haven't read too much into random, third world country religions or whatever. But from what I've read, most religions come from a way of thinking that's sort of like physically true, you know what I mean? Like physically true and emotionally true, but still at the same time not untrue. I'll explain this in a second. For instance, let's say we're living in the forest right now, and your son goes out into the woods and he runs into this big lizard, whatever. And then he comes back and he says, Dad, Joe told me that lizards can blow fire. Is that true? Now, if you say, yes, it is true, he may actually stay further away. He may give that lizard a little bit more space, keeping him safer. Whereas if you tell him the truth and say, no, they can't blow fire, he may get a little bit closer and actually get attacked by the lizard. So I think religion comes from a lot of that, a lot of things that help you, even though they're not 100% true. You know what I mean? For instance, thou shalt not murder. Yeah, we shouldn't murder each other, but the Bible is full of war, and war is murder. The Bible is, full of murder when God says it's okay. Or, thou shalt not steal, but there are many different situations where things have to be taken for the good reasons, or whatever we want to blanket it with to make it more palatable or whatever. But I think that's sort of the basis of our religions. As far as my religion, raised under the same household as David, same family as you guys. So, very Christian, very strict. I can sit here and spit scriptures, for the whole podcast if we had to, you know what I mean? But I find it hard for me to truly 100% accept that this thing is 100%, factually true. There are definitely truths within it. There are definitely things we can take as a society and help ourselves to improve as a society and, populate and be more cordial and make a safer community. But to say that this thing is 100, when you start to use the Bible as a science textbook is when I start to pull back a little bit. Because like Rodney said, I believe in science. If we do something and we do it 100 times and we keep getting the same results, is it not at least fair to say that there's some correlation between these two things? So yes, I definitely believe in science. I believe in research, but I don't want to just off the jump discredit religion, because once again, every few or so years, even in scientific fields, things are proven to be wrong. Things are shown to be incorrect. Things that we thought were correct, 10, 15, 50 years ago, we find out, like through some innovation or whatever, that they're not true. For instance, gravity. There was Newtonian gravity that lasted for decades. Then there was Einstein's gravity that lasted for decades. And now we're still questioning exactly what gravity is when we really get, down to it and talk to some physicists. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's all right or that it's all wrong, but it's really hard for me to pick a side. And that's it.
Tell me this. Are you
hold on 1 second. I still got to get my thing.
Oh yeah, Antoine. We jumped Antoine. I'm actually younger than Antoine.
Okay, if you have a question, go ahead and ask him a question, because he's still under 5 minutes. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask him that.
I just wanted to ask if he was aware his mom could potentially hear this.
Oh no, is my mom there?
No. Well, he could be there. Guess what? Her sister's here and she's listening.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely.
I've had these conversations with her. It never turned out well, but she knows how I think.
Yeah.
Jordan, you don't have anything to worry about. I just asked one question, and that question would be, are you studying every day? When we make a stand on anything that we believe or that we're or not believing, then we have to have enough study behind it. Yes, it can all come from your mind because you have a marvelous mind. You all have great minds. But you literally have to do the work. Do the Bible says, study to show yourself approved. So even if you're not studying the Bible and studying something else to disprove and all of that. So when you start discussing religion with anybody, that's what you're going to come up against. Because the more study, the more learned you are, then the better your platform, just like any politician, let's say, would do if he's trying to run for president. And you see what happens when you don't study and you don't know, you see what kind of president you get. So,
true. But once again, to comment on that, I feel like that's with everything. If you study biology all the time, any answer you're going to give is going to be a biological answer. If you study history all the time, any answer you give is going to be a historical answer, which once again, I'll say again, I try not to put myself into one small box. I try to study everything. I try to, I read the Bible. I read on different religions. I love history. I love biology. I love chemistry. I love, anatomy. I love physics. I like to try to get, fighting and sports. You can learn things from anything. I try to gain information from everywhere, and then my mind creates a system of beliefs. Like after that.
And I applaud you for that. That's my point exactly. But my point outside of the knowing that you study so many things because our brain is such a sponge and our life is so short, I only would encourage and say the things that you don't understand, and as you go through the different, when I was in school, I studied the 7 great religions. In other words, the 7 leading religions of this whole world. And after studying them, I got up from or left the class just knowing all of them had one thing in common. That was they had a certain creation.
Mom, come on the camera. Just come on the camera.
No, right? No, we can't see
Give
it.
your
No, I don't want to be on the camera because I'm really not a part of that. I like the way you guys are doing it. So I'll shut down.
Can I make a comment though?
Yeah, go ahead, Dad.
I'm really impressed with you guys' knowledge. We have the same knowledge as every other Christian because Christians are very weak because they don't know what the Bible says. In other words, we were discussing something the other day, and we were talking about the earth has been here for billions of years. And I said, no, the earth hasn't been here for billions of years.
We did have that discussion.
Yeah. My grandson said that the world, or my son says that my grandson says that the world's only been here for a few thousand years. And I pretty much agree with my grandson.
Okay. But I mean, we can have that discussion. I can tell you.
Scientifically, that's not true.
Yeah, and we know that. Disprove that. I mean, that Egypt in itself.
Here's the question, though.
Back to 3,500.
Has the world been around, or do you mean does it exist? Because maybe it's only been around for a couple thousand years to us because we existed a couple thousand years or something like that.
That's human beings, as we know, have existed for 200,000 years. More accurately, about 185,000 years. The Earth has been here for about 4.2 billion years.
But wait, Jordan, how old are you?
I'm 26 years old.
So to you, at 26 years old, let's look at it from this way. You're 26 years old. Hold on. The world started when you were born, when you opened your eyes.
If you're not talking right now,
my world and my experience started when I was born, but the Earth was here long before me. It will be here long after I die.
Exactly. But I think that's kind of what the discussion is. Is that I think sometimes people look at what was written back then. Maybe they wrote it from a perspective of we started recording history at this point. That's what the Bible started talking about, right? We started recording history here. This is the beginning. Doesn't mean he said God created the earth, right?
You can read history and find that to not be true also. Like even the ancient Sumerians, the oldest civilization we know of, they knew about the stars, they knew about planets and its positioning and the size of the planets. They knew about a lot of things that we still struggle to learn about today.
When that knowledge line gets cut, then you start fresh again, right?
That's true. No, that's true.
All right, hey, pause 1 second. Hey, Dad, you're on mute, so Dad, unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself. And you can talk. All right, so let me just go ahead and get my spiel. Now I'll talk because we all came up as Christians. I'll talk specifically on Christianity. I think I'm in the same boat as Rotten, same boat as everybody on here except for my dad and my son, right? Which is strange, but we're all at different levels. I think some people are going to be a little bit more staunch in their beliefs. Some people are going to be more fluid. I think that's part of the fault in like staunch Christianity is you think that you understand it. In reality, you don't, because to understand it, you would have to understand the history behind it. You'd have to understand the context behind it. You'd have to understand a lot of other things. And what we find is that the majority of it is going to have, like the Ethiopians deal with something called wax and gold. They talk about their proverbs. There's certain things that are like the obvious meaning. And then you also have a hidden meaning. And the hidden meaning is the golden part, right? So the Bible has a lot of truths in it. A lot of it is metaphor. A lot of it is allegory. So you can't take it scientific or word for word. You're still on mute, Dad. I know you want to interject. I can mute you, but I can't unmute you. I muted you when everybody was talking. I'm sorry. You got to figure out how to unmute yourself. But in all that allegory and metaphor, I believe that the metaphor and the allegory in it is very meaningful. There's a lot of meaning behind it. And I think it came through trial and error through the years. Somebody bumps their head and they figure out a way to stop other people from bumping their head. And I don't say this the way it necessarily just has to be, but to me, logically, that's where I follow That's
Okay, well, let me say this, and I appreciate what you're saying, and you're my son, and I really think you're intelligent, believe me. However, let me say this. You guys are calling the Bible allegory, you're calling it history, you're calling a lot of different things. But the only reason why you're so confused is because you believe that Darwin, who wrote a religious book, had some validity in what he was saying. He thinks that the world has been here for a long time due to some Big Bang theory. You guys can go along with that and you can buy it. And you guys can think that maybe there are other cultures, but we don't have any real evidence of other cultures that lived way before the creation. And that's why I say Christians are weak. They don't know what's in the Bible. They don't, I mean, it's like evening and the morning is ordained as one day. And we know what that is. That's 24 hours, right? Even if you were going something by something called a lunar day or a lunar night, it's still 24 hours. But you guys get to the point where, okay, well, this guy says the earth has been here for millions of years, so he must have some credibility and validity. But no, you have to stand on what you believe based on something. Okay?
Yeah, well, the way I see it is, as you said, it is what you believe in, but it's what makes most sense to you. Because
So
when I
does
because when I
make
look at it
sense to
and
that
you
the
say
Earth has been
what
here
makes
for a billion years? I'm not saying a billion years, but does it make sense to you that the Earth has been here for 1 billion years?
yes, 100 years, no, but millions of years, yes, and I can explain why if you want, if you have the time, if
Okay,
you're scared to hear.
try and explain why.
Well, okay, well, there are a lot of evolutionary factors that go into it. There are a lot of them. We can look at animals right now. We can look at fossils right now and see how evolution has taken place, and the different and the different environmental factors that have played into animals evolving a certain way. We also look at the DNA. Every living thing has DNA, and we see similar DNA, with human beings and everything. Literally, trees and plants and animals and humans and dogs. We can find similar parts of our DNA that lets us know that we all came from a similar being, whether it was bacteria billions of years ago or the first thing to walk out of the water onto land. And it makes sense. It's things that can be proved, things that we can look at time and time again, and they don't change. DNA is going to be DNA regardless.
That means you evolve, right? You evolve from some lower form of life.
Yes, and not just that. Like, evolution happens all the time. Think about early Americans.
So
when we first started to drink milk, we were all dealing with stomach issues, and we couldn't process the lactose because it wasn't something that was in our diet. But about a couple decades later, a lot of us are fine. That's evolution. That's humans adapting to their environment. That's all evolution is. So when people dispute and say evolution is a real thing, it's like it happens all the time. It's like you can physically see it happen. So there's really nothing to dispute there.
Adapt to milk.
What'd you say?
How long did it take you to adapt to milk?
Yeah, no. How long did it take? I don't know. A couple of decades, but different things take different amounts of time. Think about the early humans. Think about why we have different skin colors. It's from being in different environments, being in more snow versus being in more sun. That takes thousands and thousands of years to really come in. And also the different diets that come into place with the different areas that you're in, whether you're having a higher fat content diet, more lean meats, more vegetables, you know what I mean? And human beings evolve and change. Not just the humans, the animals. Think about predators, large feline predators. If you go to Africa, Africa's environment and diet gave you the lion. Whereas if you go to Asia, Asia's diet and environment gave you the tiger. You know what I mean? It's your environment, it's your diet, it's the land you're living on, you're living on, and you're living off of, and it's time. And we see it everywhere, and we can trace it all the way from now, all the way back to the origin of the species.
Slicing and dicing. Go ahead,
hard to see it. I think it might be hard to see it too in the human race because we don't really mate for any real reason, so to speak. Animals, you'll see it because they're survival of the fittest. With us, you might have a sick person that's attracted to or a healthy person attracted to a sick person. So it really, our evolution is kind of in a place where we're just all about love and how people feel, whatever. So it's a little hard to see that type of thing.
Maybe black people don't.
I mean, but how long has that been a thing? Not very long. The societies as we know it now aren't that old. We think that we've always been like this. Dude, we were in the woods. We were fighting off bears with sticks. You know what I mean? For a long time, it was survival of the fittest. The life that we know right now is only a couple of decades old, a century or two.
With following the religions and everything, it was more like that with tribalism and stuff like that. But once we got to the point where there's wars and these governments, there's other forces that are driving the human race now. Within the last...
You're muted too, just so you know, you're muted. I don't know if you had to do it on purpose.
No, David.
I don't know if he was trying to chime in.
No, I'm aware. I'm just listening to the conversation. I'm gonna chime in when I get the chance.
I mean, look, we can go about it all day, but there are thousands of examples to show how not just humans have evolved, but all living things evolve over time. And the Earth is definitely older than a couple thousand years. Humans go back further than a couple thousand years. We can trace humans back further than just a couple thousand years. Over 180,000 years to trace back.
A new type of animal, not a creature.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. Maybe it's because you guys are in the basement. Can you say that again?
Okay, so evolution is just the creature becoming a new type of animal, not.
It's adapting to its environment. Yes.
Okay, so if that's true, then I just have to ask. I can get to the adaptation of the environment, but the way you say everything's related to the fossils and all, you can find petrified anything. Fine.
Man, you're freezing up, Antoine. I feel like you're about to say something hard too.
I know. And look, I'm not necessarily just talking about fossils. I'm talking about we can take DNA right now of a tree and then your DNA right now, and we can see similarities in very small parts of the DNA, and it traces us back to ancient ancestors that were linked. Like similar ancestors, just how we can trace back to the last common ancestor of humans and the chimpanzees. We can trace back to anything, because every living thing. And remember, everything is living. Every living thing has a common ancestor.
I'm going to say right now, I'm the Christian in this conversation. You're a Christian. Okay, so we got a couple of Christians. I don't know what you guys are, but you're not Christian.
You took my Christian card?
Oh man. I don't know. That's the issue that I have with a lot of religions too. You can never ask questions. You can never ask questions. You can never, like, if it's true, then there should be no fear of questioning. If it's true and it will prove itself true, there should be no fear of that.
I can answer questions biblically and not with using the theory of evolution or anything else. So
doesn't it make you feel a little bit weird that you always go back to the same source, where it's like if you just don't understand it, you say, "Oh, God did it," or it came from the Bible. You know what I mean? That's the whole.
I've been saying. So I'm always going to be a Christian.
When was
my
the Bible written? That's the question you have to ask.
Ooh.
When was the Bible written, and what were people doing before that?
And who wrote it?
Hold up. Did Moses read the Bible? Did Moses have to read the Bible? So it's like, how was he getting?
No, he didn't.
Inspiration from God, right? So, if we have knowledge or inspiration, is it not from God? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
Where did it come from?
We limit ourselves to one canon. We have to be able to read outside of that. It has to hold up to history. It has to hold up if it's true.
It has to explain some things.
But you used to try and read the Bible with you guys when you were younger. And I could understand if you go someplace and say, okay, you went to school and you went to stop right school. They told you about evolution.
Have you ever heard of the term God of the Gap?
Can I make this statement really quick?
I want to say something very fast, and then everyone.
I haven't talked.
Okay, Dave, you're right. I'm sorry, you haven't talked yet.
I was going to make this statement. I think it's very important when it comes to dealing with Christianity that you don't try to strip away the mysticism that's involved with it. If people decide to believe in Christianity, to believe in the miraculous nature of it, then that's their prerogative, and you can't tell them that that's wrong. And I think it's also important that you make a clear distinction between science and faith.
Right.
Science is founded in experiments. We use actual matter. We use an actual system in order to determine if something is factual or not. Religion is solely based in faith. And again, Hebrews 11:1, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So if someone decides to believe in something that they cannot see or that they cannot corroborate via scientific experiment, then I think that's completely okay. And like I said,
there's some things that are well explained to you just by reading the scripture.
True, but by reading the scripture, you can almost explain anything. When you look a little bit deeper into it, you find out that it's not just that. There's a term called the God of the gaps that I kind of want to bring up, because it's just saying God is whatever we don't understand. For example, let's go back about 100 years, 200 years or so. Why do plants grow? What is that? We put them in the ground and grow. What is that? Oh, I don't know. It has to be God. Then through further study, we find out that nutrients in the ground, the sun helps it create chlorophyll, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. So now does God not do that? You know what I mean? Or because like when I feel like when you do that, you put God in this bubble of what we just don't know. So your God will be forever shrinking. And I believe that God has to be something bigger than that in our minds.
God is
everything, even though we know nutrients go into the seed to make the plant grow, who designed that system? Every system, every organization has to be designed by someone.
That's what I'm saying. God has to be bigger than that. Where it's like, even if we say the Big Bang is true, who created the Big Bang? Sure, don't say the Big Bang isn't true and it's not true. If we scientifically see that there is some truth to it, say, okay, but God did it.
But sure. That's a good point that you're making, Jordan. I think a lot of times people limit the magnificence and the omniscience and omnipotence of God. So one can make the argument that through science, we are gaining a greater understanding of God and of the inner workings of God. So I think you bring up a big point. Like a lot of times people do limit God to maybe a textbook or to, a specific reference, but I think he's so much greater. But I also think God blesses people who believe in Christianity. He blesses people with the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit gives them that ability to tap into the scriptures on a different level than the basic Christian or someone who just has a basic information of the Word of God. And it goes beyond what most people think. So I think that's why the Bible talks about studying to show yourself approved, because maybe God recognizes the power in deeply studying his word and through the Holy Spirit gaining a greater understanding of the word than most people have. But
that's a good point.
Yeah.
So can we all agree that knowledge is power? Like, can we all agree with that statement?
Yeah, but what kind of knowledge? I mean, we have a doctor.
Yeah, right. What is that power used for?
Right, exactly. But here's the thing, though, right? Especially when it comes to religion and even sciences and things like that, knowledge is power. Certain people will dig and expend energy to get that knowledge so they can do things, so they can control things or whatever. Some people would be happy just saying, you know what, this is what it is. Give me a basic explanation for it, and I'm good to go. I can focus on other things in my life. I think we're dealing with billions of people on this planet, and everybody doesn't have the same capacity to sit and study the Bible, first of all, to study science, second of all, to study anything. So I think religion makes it easy. Most religions will make it easy for people to understand the basis of what happened. Somebody created the earth. Somebody did this. This is what happened. Before there was a Bible, or maybe during the same time period when Christianity came about, it was Roman mythology and Greek mythology. There's always some explanation to give a simple answer.
So did these mythological things come about before Christianity or before the Bible?
Yeah, some did, yeah. And I think that's a very good point what Rodney just made. And it brings me to a sort of segue. And it's, think about conspiracy theories. All the governments, spraying stuff in the air to make us, retarded or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I think those simple answers, they overlook the depth that's necessary to actually answer questions. When you look at anything, really anything that you really want an answer to, and you hear someone giving a super simple answer, it's usually not true. as you start to read into it a little more, you find out how many variables are there, and so many things that go into play for the true answer. And the true answer is just harder to get to and takes more understanding to get.
And it's harder to explain to people too. That's why.
Yes, it takes more time. It takes more time to explain to people. So to make it palatable for millions of people, we give basic answers to things.
Yep.
I'm always surprised.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
When
You broke up.
Get out the basement, dog. Like, what's happening?
You're breaking up.
Okay. I always find it hard to understand why professional Christians, your preachers, your
All right.
Man, you froze again.
You're frozen.
answer.
Yeah.
You said you found it hard to understand why professional Christians, and then you froze.
Well, they can't find the appropriate answer to shut down a lot of the confusion. But a lot of times, people want to be confused. They're happy being confused. The Bible is very clear.
They want an easy answer to get to heaven.
Huh?
They want an easy answer to get to heaven, and that's what a lot of religions give.
You're already in heaven.
Everybody knows that.
I was clear about that. You don't know it. You don't want to accept it because you think it's to get there. Jesus came down and told us kingdom of heaven.
A lot of Christians, I hear what you're saying, but a lot of Christians don't know that. You know what I mean?
No, why don't you know? Why don't Christians know that? Because they're still dealing with the monkey wrench that's been thrown into the system of the theory of evolution. Why would you even deal with that? Who was this guy that wrote the theory of evolution?
I think most Christians don't believe in that. Most real, like hardcore Christians,
Yeah,
they believe everything
one
Jesus
second.
said.
Pause for 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt. All right. First thing, let's define Christianity, because when you're talking on behalf of Christianity, I don't think you're talking on behalf of Catholicism, are you? That if you could just define what sect of Christian are you?
I'm a follower of Christ.
Okay. So you can jam with Jehovah's Witnesses?
I mean,
You jam that? Do you get down with Jehovah's Witnesses? Do you agree with Jehovah's Witnesses?
no, they are screwed up.
All right, that's good to know. All right, and how about Catholics?
To be on television, video, but the only reason why they can't be on TV is because part of their Bible was already wiped out. They left out certain scriptures.
Got it.
Heresy.
How about Catholics? How about Catholics?
They're all screwed up because they're trying to follow the Jewish synagogue.
Got
They're
it.
following in line with the Jewish synagogue to show their
All right, now how about the Church of Latter-day Saints? You get down with them?
authority.
You get down with the Church of Latter-day Saints?
Man, all these different churches. There's a whole lot of them that are sort of messed up.
All right. How about the COEs, the ones that Holy Rollers? How about them?
Sanctified. Some of them are okay, but some of them are messed up too.
Okay. So when you talk about Christianity being a follower of Christ, like what specifically are you saying? You're a Baptist? Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
No.
I think that's.
I'm a deacon at a Baptist church.
Okay.
I'm a follower of Christ. I'll be checking the preacher to make sure he don't say the wrong thing, because if he says something that's confusing coming out of the Bible, I'll know it. If in fact I do that we're in heaven, right?
So are the Catholics so messed up that they're not going to go to heaven, or they're not saved?
Well, the scripture actually say that there's a woman, and the woman is called false religion. And she's going to be brought out in the last days, made on the ground.
Got it. So just so I follow you, that means that 1.8 billion Catholics in the world are really messed up. They're going to hell. He froze again. All right, so my point is, because he's frozen, my point is that you have so many different sects of Christianity just in itself, not to mention you have Islam, you know, you have all these other religions that all purport to be the way. You think that, you really think that there's the only one way is to be a Baptist. I don't know, I know Protestantism, where that came from Lutheranism, but Baptist, in my mind, I'm thinking about Black Southern Church Baptist, something that came. Tell me if I'm wrong. The Baptist religion was invented in the United States. Baptist Christian.
Sure, I'm a Baptist because your mama was a woman and she took me to a Baptist church. And when I met her, I said, I'll never leave.
All right. But this is just a derivative of Catholicism, because Catholicism did predate Protestantism. We're following each other. If that is true, where did Catholicism come from?
Well,
Romans.
Dave, good point.
If you look at
the Jewish Romans, and who was the first Roman to accept Christianity? Constantine the Great.
I have no.
And when did he accept Christianity?
I don't know that, but tell me this. We read this the other day. Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 8. In the King James Version says that we're in heaven, right?
All right, so again, we're using the Bible to define religion and Christianity. When I'm trying to use this discussion to define where the Bible came from. Where did the Bible come from?
The Bible came from men that were inspired of God, but I'll tell you something about the man who wrote the book of Genesis. His name was Moses. He got the information straight from the hieroglyphia in Egypt. Mm-hmm. He was educated by the Egyptians. He lived with the Egyptians. He studied with the Egyptians. And he brought some of the hieroglyphia out to write the Bible. Before the Bible, there was no other book.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't claim to have any of the answers, right? I am in the process of learning. However, I learned something very interesting just a few weeks ago. Me and Dave, we were talking about our DNA, where it led back to. It led us back eternally. It led us back to Cameroon and the Bamileke people. The Bamileke people and the Tikar people of Cameroon say, and they've said this for thousands of years, that they came from Egypt. All the other tribes in Cameroon will tell you, hey, we came from northern Nigeria, or, you know, we came from the Mali Empire, we came from this. But this group of people said, the Bamileke and the Tikar said that they came from Egypt, and they were running. They ran from Egypt years and years ago, right? And they were running from invasions. And the question is, we're talking about Egypt, we're talking about Moses. So the Egyptians, if the Bamileke are black and they came from Egypt, is that included? Tell us that maybe the Egyptians were also black. I mean, along with 100,000 other clues, you know, you have pictures and everything else, wall paintings, but we can agree that the Egyptians then were probably black, right?
Well, they were black, and the Israelites were black. Guess what? Israelites pass for Egyptians, and Egyptians could pass for Israelites. That's just the way it was. So a lot of times we're still thinking we're taking on the white man's religion, and we take offense to that really being here in the United States of America, because we feel like the white man gave us this religion, so most of us want to reject it, right?
No, I'm not saying we should reject it. I'm saying that perhaps the Old Testament, it talks about the Israelites. We're actually dealing with black people, and we're talking about laws, with black laws, that are also like the basis of a lot of the legal systems around the world today. We're saying that those were black people who were forced out of Egypt. I'm saying when you're dealing with the New Testament, you're dealing with something called, let me pull it up here, something called Soteriology, the doctrine of salvation. That's the New Testament, right?
Yeah.
All right. So you have somebody named Soter, Soter. Ptolemy the First. He was the first European. The first European. You hear that? That's scary. He was the first European emperor of Egypt. Right?
Okay.
His name was Soter. Ptolemy the First, nickname was Soter. He's also he told the Egyptians that they needed to make him a god. When he took control of Egypt, he said he wanted to be deitized. He wanted to be made a god.
Okay.
So the Egyptians did just that.
Okay. Well, you know something, and that's we read Genesis 1-8. King James Version says God created the heavens and the earth. And they went about the process of God creating the heavens and the earth. And there was something called an expanse. It's called heaven. Okay? But now we're at the point where a lot of people
Sorry.
Okay, this is heaven, the sky. That's because Christians are afraid to recognize where we are as heaven. Perhaps because it's pretty rough out here. We have campfires in California. We have earthquakes. We have tsunamis. We have all kinds of things happening. The battery is running low.
So your computer. Go ahead, Rodney.
If this is heaven, I'm not saying if this is heaven.
Why did we change from?
What happens when we die? Are we kicked out of heaven when we die? How's that work?
You're just according to the.
Oh, you muted. You froze again, Dad. But just with that thought, here if you responded. But like, if this is heaven and this is the expanse between this is heaven, why do we die and why are we not here forever?
What happens when you die? Because you want to get something better when you die.
So we're going to double heaven?
I think a lot of things when it comes to the afterlife, we're not 100% sure on, and that's okay. You know, the Bible doesn't outlay in 100% detail everything that happens. And some would even make the argument that maybe it creates some confusion about the end times. But I think a lot of it we just don't know. And that's fine to say we just don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big fear of religious people is saying we don't know. Because wherever we say we don't know, they say, oh, it was God. Yep, nope, that was God. And then 15 years later, when we actually find out what it was, we say it's that. And then they say something else is God. So
the way I get around that's that God built the framework. I
think that's fine. But we're trying to define everything in between, and that's what people purport that they know when maybe they don't really know. And I think maybe it's about time that we just say, okay, some things we don't know, but we can track history. And in history, you can see that, yeah, there's a lot of things that actually existed prior to Christianity, and Christianity wasn't even always called Christianity, but people were still doing those same type of things. And then when you were just talking about, we were talking about Holy Roll, it's like, where did that come from? Because they never did that any place. When I go to any of these white churches here in Canada, they don't roll around on the ground or anything like that. So how come you have people in England that are worshiping one way, and you have people from Africa that are worshiping a different way? And a lot of that had to do with before you had Christianity in a lot of African cultures, you had other religions. And guess what they did? They rolled around on the ground.
Yep.
They were like expressing themselves in the exact same way they express themselves in the church now.
Yoruba, phone. It's a lot of different examples. And it's a lot of different situations where people act exactly how they acted a long time ago, but we don't want to admit it.
No. Don't give yourself an easy out by saying we don't want. Think about it like this. How long have we had the automobile as an invention?
maybe thousands of years. I don't know.
You don't know exactly. We honestly don't know. We can say that like Henry Ford made the first one, but when we look at a lot of ancient civilizations, we see a lot of technology that we kind of don't even understand why they would even have it. Like those batteries that were found buried in Iraq and stuff like that.
Like, me are very smart. So tell me this: if we're so smart and we've been here for millions of years.
I never said millions of years we've been here.
Just now making whatever you said, but we're just now making some of the newer automobiles.
We may. What I'm saying is we may not. We may not be. There may have been ancient cars on ancient streets. Yeah. Like when you research into a lot of these ancient civilizations, they have technology that we don't even understand why they would have it.
But tell me this.
We don't even fully understand some of the ancient language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did evolution mess you up? Because somebody's got you guys off of your Christian pillar.
It's not just evolution, dude. I don't say dude. It's not just evolution. It's a lot of different things. It's like we look at history and then we see different things. Like for instance, there was a comet that hit the earth that wiped out almost like 80% of the human beings, and we kind of had to start over. So there's factual evidence to show that happened. You know what I mean? And it totally makes sense.
I would just like to say that I am not off my Christian pillar. I don't believe that the last book was written and that nobody should ever add to the religion or the Bible or the information, because anybody can be inspired by God to rewrite or to add to the Bible. Was the Bible perfect and nothing can be added? Has God stopped influencing people now? I mean, seriously, I'm not off my Christian pillar. I still believe in God. I still believe
you don't have to. You don't have to. You really don't have to.
Well, in order to be saved, then you're supposed to believe in Jesus Christ.
From died what? Right? From what? You guys are halfway in. You're halfway in.
No.
Why not go ahead?
Did knowledge stop after the last? Just let me know. Did knowledge stop and education stop after the last book of the Bible was written? No, it didn't.
Yeah, I agree with Rodney there. This reminds me. I'm sorry, Dave. You can go.
I think Rodney's a smart guy. It's easy to agree with him. I'm the nut. I'm the nut.
You're not enough, but you need to go upstairs and we get better internet.
I know, right?
Okay, getting kind of nutty over there. No, we're just kidding.
I'm not that good with this technical stuff.
This reminds me of when I was in college. I took an African American studies class, and he was talking about different African religions, specifically Yoruba and Fon. And he was saying how they're all passed down verbally. And he was saying that how that may even be a better system for religion, because over time, as Rodney said, they can change. Like if your grandma says something to you, you interpret it a certain way, and then decades later, you say to your children, it will be different. Whereas something that's written down, 600 years ago, it has to be taken at face value. And when this was written before the internet, as you said, before cars, before all these houses, before bicycles, before all of this stuff, before all the things that have changed over time. Just like the Declaration of Independence. I bet if Thomas Jefferson and John Hancock came back right now and they went and talked to the president, the first thing they would say is like, what? You haven't updated it? Like, dude, we were riding with feathers and wearing wigs. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Where it's like things
Jordan,
happen. Yeah.
Check this out, though. You cannot take away from the efficacy of Christianity. Like the concepts and precepts that are within the word can be very effective at helping someone to lead a very good life. Now,
yes, because they say things, as I said earlier, that are true, and they can't. I'm sorry.
The doctor.
Now, Christianity
just said it's a good book, right?
It's a great book.
Right.
Nobody said the book sucks. It's the Bible.
No, we have the doctor, and the doctor himself.
Don't think that I'm bashing Christianity.
I don't think you are, but I just think it's important that we realize that, yes, for each individual, maybe a specific religion may work for them, it may not. Maybe they believe that they should ascribe to atheism, and that's the best for them. But I just wanted to emphasize that Christianity can be a faith, a belief that is very effective at helping someone to be a productive person, not only in their own life, but in society overall. So
I 100% agree. If Christianity makes you a better person, 100% fall into it. But when I think of it, it makes me think about, like I was saying earlier, telling your son that, yes, the lizard can blow fire, because it will keep him safer. It will, make him, think a certain way and stay away from danger as much. But it's technically not true.
See, but bro, I think you can. I think you can. You can
Yes,
appreciate science, but at the same, I think you can appreciate science, but at the same time ascribe to Christianity.
Hey,
Don't think that I'm not appreciating it. Don't think that I don't think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and it was a necessary step that we had to take in human evolution.
hey,
But if you want to use it as a science textbook and say that all these things are 100% factually true, that's where I start to question. Don't get me wrong. Some things are factually true. Like, shoot, they can find science to say that Noah's Ark was true. Like I don't know. Look,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a lot we don't know, but it's a lot that doesn't make sense.
Okay.
And that's why
let me ask you this. Hey, this for Dave. Dave, was Jonah swallowed by a whale?
I do not believe that, but guess what? If someone believes in,
Hey, Dave, I know your mama too.
no,
It's the same as Jordan's mama.
let's not do any bashing. Listen, if someone decides to believe in the mysticism of that story, like, because this is what I was gonna say. You have some individuals who are fundamentalists, right? Who believe the Bible word by word by word. You have some individuals that allow for the purported Holy Spirit to captivate them, and that allows for them to interpret the word for their betterment and their furtherance. And you have some individuals that kind of take some concepts and precepts from the word and they apply it to their lives to be better people. And I just happen to be an individual that sometimes questions some of the stories within the Bible. And I may tend to think that, maybe they're allegories, or maybe God is trying to get us to understand a key concept that's within the story. But ultimately, as the New Testament states, if you believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, then you're guaranteed salvation, even in the midst of maybe some questioning of some things. I think that's fine. I think God wants us to be intellectuals and to think more about things. I don't know.
And Jesus told stories. Jesus told stories. He spoke in parables.
Fantastic.
All right,
guys.
Did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that?
Huh?
I said Jesus told stories. He spoke in parables. Does that mean that everybody who wrote, nobody else can write stories and things that weren't 100% true? Just to make a point. That's how Jesus taught.
If you believe that Jonah was swallowed,
I'm not saying he believe.
Oh, okay. If you don't
That's
believe,
something else that Christians do that we don't have to get into. Ascribing beliefs to everyone else and telling them what they believe.
No.
All right, Dad, what's your favorite version of the Bible?
Exactly.
What is the correct version of the Bible?
Well, there's actually the written in Hebrew, and then when they migrated into Rome, or they were taken into Rome, they had to adapt Greek characteristics, and they took on the Greek language. So part of it was written in Greek.
I mean, but by that time, it's already been translated multiple times. You know what I mean? So it's like, does the original writing of the Bible even matter?
Yes, and then
it does, because here in the United States we have a lot of different translations.
So what's the original, Hebrew, or is it the Dead Sea Scrolls? Which one?
Well, Dead Sea Scrolls are not included in the Bible canon, so they're not necessary. The canon itself,
there are a couple books that aren't included in the Bible that we know were part of the Bible.
Right, there's 66 books that are included in the canon, though. Okay, now
who decided this? Who decided what goes in the Bible and what doesn't go in the Bible?
I guess.
I mean, if you want to get to it, we can get to it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there's some very intelligent theologians, but they didn't feel that the Dead Sea Scrolls were necessary to form the canon, the Bible canon. So the Bible canon is something that you use to study to really get the gist or to understand who this God is.
And we just all
Hey,
agree.
Uncle
And we
Rod,
just
I
all
will
agree
say
with
this.
that.
I think that it's completely fine for people to read into the Dead Sea Scrolls and maybe some of those texts that weren't included in the Bible. I don't think that like they would be condemned to eternal damnation if they do that. Like, I think it's absolutely fine.
Okay. Okay. Well, if you guys want to study the Dead Sea Scrolls, that's probably a good idea. But what you should do first is actually study the Bible. That you say
You think we haven't? We're all raised in Christianity, man. Like we can all sit here and quote
I
scripture.
know, that don't mean you study. That don't mean you study. Okay?
Well, I've definitely studied. I've read the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation.
Okay. Okay. And I appreciate it. So tell me this.
Because like this goes back to what I was saying. If you accredit every single small iota of anything to Jesus, then of course everything's gonna, seem like that. You've already accredited him for anything. So like you stub your toe, oh God, what are you doing to me? Like you get a job promotion, oh thank you, Jesus. You know what I mean? You've accredited him for everything already. So anything that happens, he gets that credit.
I don't think that's even being a Christian. That's somebody who believes in the myth.
Okay.
You're a Christian, you have to understand what Christianity means.
Away from Christianity a little bit, how many people here believe in the secret?
Talking about Oprah's religion?
Yeah, the secret thing where if you want something hard enough, the universe will find a way to make it happen to you.
Once again, I believe there are some truths within that, but to take it all at face value and, I say all the time, I think we can keep all religions and everything will be fine if we just stop taking it as seriously.
You know what I believe? I believe that we don't know nothing.
That's true.
And we can sit here and philosophize about what we don't know and what we know. But guess what? I think it's completely fine and acceptable for people, again, to ascribe to certain beliefs, to certain doctrines.
Well, you see, that's kind of contradictory. That's kind of contradictory in what you're saying. Exactly.
Bro, check this out. I ain't finished. If they believe that particular doctrine is the true and the only way, that is completely fine. And they can live like, what is the negative of them believing that way? The only issue comes is when people take religions and they use it for negative purposes. And they use it to oppress and batter and abuse certain people. But Christianity in its purest form is so beautiful. And it can result in, I believe, great things. Now, obviously,
what is its purest form?
This is my own ideology. And someone can counter and say, no, I don't believe that. And that's absolutely fine. So I'm just kind of speaking from, my own experience.
Okay, what is its purest form? Because we haven't really gotten to a consensus about what is the right way to do Christianity.
And Jordan, you bring up a great question. I don't know if I don't know what that is. And maybe I'm just saying that. I guess I believe, like, when I think about it in its purest form, that's people not using it to do wrong. But then you can ask the question, well, what is wrong?
Seriously, not just what is wrong. The people who are doing what you would consider wrong, they think they're doing right.
You gotta look at every religion. What do all religions have in common? Or most religions have in common?
Don't murder everyone. Don't rape people.
And they all have some way of wanting something, and you pray, you ask for it, you pray over and over, you wish for it, and then they say that you will get it by doing these things, by requesting, by praying, by wanting it. So it's kind of like whether you're a Christian, whether you believe in the secret, whether you believe in karma, whether you believe whatever it is, if you apply yourself and believe in it fully, it's good for you. It answers those questions of what you need.
That's most things, though. If you have a biological, basis of your understanding, biology can answer most things. You know what I mean? But it's like
the one thing
it all falls down to what works for you. You know what I mean? It's like what, when you think about it, what do you honestly think is true? I'm not telling anyone to not be a Christian. I'm not sitting here telling anyone that, they're wrong. My big issue just comes when people tell me how to think. That's what
But you do have to be careful, bro, with like what works for you, because someone may think that a particular way of life or lifestyle that works for them is best, and that lifestyle may result in unwarranted death and harm to individuals.
And you know what I say? I say
Jordan.
knock yourself out, and that's a natural
Jordan.
experience in human beings.
But bro,
Jordan.
I think I guess the point I'm trying to make is I think there are universal laws that are crucial to the furtherance of nature, right? And when you start going against, those laws that I think pretty much hold steady, that can be perceived as bad, and that's where you bump into trouble when you just
what are those universal laws? Because remember, if it's universal, it's not just humans; it's all animal life. You know what I mean? We could say not murder, but a lot of animals are cannibals. A lot of animals murder each other at alarming rates. There will be alarming rates for human beings, and they're doing just fine. You know what I mean? So,
well, I think when you're dealing with the Homo sapiens species with humans, that we should just think about us.
We are different.
I think that's what religions attempt to do. They attempt to answer that exact question that you stated. What universal laws in the Homo sapiens species will result in the furtherance of our species.
But you see how you have to put that clause there? You say it's a universal law that will result in the furtherance. You can't just say it's a universal law, because you have to put that clause of, because you don't know for sure 100% if it's right or wrong, but you know that it will lead to us populating more and us not being as angry.
But now I think we're playing with syntax and semantics. Well, let's just say this. What laws will allow for the Homo sapiens species to survive? And it's just difficult to come up with those laws. But I don't
know, man. If you're a dictator and you kill everyone, your people are definitely surviving. Your people are definitely moving forward.
There's a I can't remember the definition of it or what it was called, but there's a way of thinking morality or measuring morality by if something can be done repeatedly by anybody and life would go on, then it's moral. So if murder was legal and everybody was murdering, then life wouldn't go on, because eventually everybody would kill everybody, right?
I don't know. If murder were legal, you think everyone would just kill everyone? I think people will some people think that murder is not good. And no, I shouldn't just kill everyone.
That's not the question. It's morality. Is it moral? It's only moral if everybody can do it and life would go on. Everybody keeps doing it and it goes on. Like, to give money away, everybody could give a little money away and it would be fine because life would go on, it wouldn't hurt anybody. But if you say to murder is okay and everybody's murdering, guess what? Every day you got 50% less people till there's nobody left but one person. So
everyone thinks it's okay or everyone doesn't? Because
everybody doesn't.
Because I think if murder were legalized, like 100% legalized, and you didn't get any repercussion for it, I don't think everyone would do it. I think there would definitely still be some people who wouldn't do it.
Do you believe in the
question, Rodney?
Kinda, in some situations.
Jordan, let me pose this question to you guys.
Yeah.
All right. The Christianity was brought to African Americans basically. This form of Christianity recently. Let's talk about recent history because, of course, Africans had Christianity, were some of the first adopters of Christianity. But in this context, we received Christianity through slavery. A lot of other Africans received
missionaries.
Yeah, and missionaries, right? They received theirs through colonialism and missionaries. So you had somebody that had superior technology, better weapons, better trinkets, and they also brought their religion and they said this is the way you need to worship, this is the way you need to serve. You think the fact that it came from maybe a group of people who had superior technology at the time gives it some validity as they must have the real God because their God has the better weapons?
I think at the time it's easy to see that. Not just that, they're the ones that's winning all the wars. When you read up on Christianity and the Templars and even in the Middle Ages and everything, they were winning all the wars. They were killing everyone. Where it's their God must be better than our God. Their God is letting them win all these wars. They're healthy. They got all this food in excess. You know what I mean? And not just that. Something I like to talk about with Christianity specifically. It's so easy to be in the religion. Get on your knees and pray and say, God, come into my heart. Now you're going to heaven. You don't have to do a pilgrimage to Mecca. You don't have to change your diet too much. You don't have to wear robes. You don't have to pull out these carpets and do any crazy nonsense. It's so easy. So not just that. It's easy to pull people in because it's easy to be a part of their religion. And then they overpopulate because it's easy. And then they win the wars. So historically, it makes sense that Christianity was a religion that came out on top in the way that it did. But to sit here and say that universally it's 100% right, and we all have to, I don't even want to start going there. That's where I start to, draw lines.
Yeah, so yeah, I do think that military technology had a huge influence on the impression of Christianity on Black folks or African people. Like, that's undeniable. And when you put it into its proper time context, I can see why they would kind of become dependent on it. If you see this superior people and they're excelling as a people,
the mashed potatoes are done. The chicken
through this particular.
I'm trying to make the skin at least a little bit crispy for you, baby, because I wasn't doing a crispy process, but I know you want it.
Hey, bro. So,
the wife, we heard you.
So yeah, you have this superior people.
We don't see you get that.
My bad.
So yeah, you have this superior people with this religion that they're forcing on you. Like, yeah, it's gonna be easier for you to accept that particular religion. So I definitely think that had a huge influence.
Was that?
But that, yeah.
I'm sending it to mom. All right. I'm about to send it. I gotta get Pop back in here. Mama.
Tell him get out of the basement, man.
I think he's getting on the computer now. I hope. All right, it should be coming your way now. All right, so I think that's part of the big draw of Christianity was the fact that the people who were bringing Christianity to us would also, had their foot on our neck at the same time. But then when we accepted Christianity, what do? We end up bringing in portions of our own religions. Like you talk about people in Brazil, Black Africans in Brazil, when they worship and use Christianity, they still have all the Orishas, right? So they still are no Orishas. They replace the saints with Orishas, right? So it's like, and that happened. The same thing happened in Europe when they accepted Christianity. They took a lot of their pagan religion. So a lot of the things that we call Christianity, a good portion of that is pagan European religion. So you're not on yet, Dad. You're still not in the thing. I sent you the invite though. You guys on computer? I'll do it again.
And I upgraded it. It looks like it got slower, the buffer's lower than anything else.
Mama T. All right, it's coming again.
And even when you think about the Black church and Christianity within the Black community, it's even broken down into different denominations. You have the African Methodist, the Episcopal Church, and the United Church of Christ, and so on and so forth. And we essentially use the religion to improve ourselves as a people and to better ourselves. Now, some people may make the argument that, hey, we could have done better without it. Some will say through it, we've had some of the greatest revolutions, Black revolutions within America. For instance, when you think about Martin Luther King and other civil rights activists. So, but yeah, you see Christianity take on different forms throughout the African diaspora, and I think that's pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, the majority of one thing I found interesting was the majority of Africans, they have the largest proportion of Christians actually live in Africa now, and the majority of them are Catholics. They actually have the biggest cathedral in the world in the Ivory Coast, and it's called. Just look up the biggest church in Africa, and you'll see this huge cathedral that they modeled off the one from Rome. And the crazy part is the Roman Church doesn't even give them the credit of having the biggest church in the world, even though they have the tallest, largest church in the world. Wow. Go to Wikipedia and look and say, well, what's the biggest church in the world? The Roman Church refuses to say, hey, this is the biggest church in the world. And Yamoussoukro, what is that?
It's because they black. You already know.
Because they're black, right? So we respect, and even in this church in the heart of Africa, they have white Jesus all over the church. I found that
Anybody aware that Jesus himself came and he rejected?
no, Dad, nobody can hear you.
Can you hear me though?
No, because you're not on the hangout. Even in the heart of Africa, so I think we've kind of lost our way a little bit when it comes to
problems you be having with your MacBook.
No, I'm not saying we need to throw Christianity out the window.
The battery dying, baby. The battery.
First adoptees of Christianity. I mean, immediately.
Your MacBook is straight shut off on this mug.
Accepted Christianity, and he used that to conquer. You know, at that almost exact same time frame, you had the.
Hey, Jordan, you creating a lot of interference. Jordan, you creating interference.
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I just put
Hit
the
your mute
charger.
button. Hit your mute button.
Yeah, so almost immediately when Constantine accepted Christianity, you had the Ethiopians at the exact same time, maybe even slightly before that, that were accepting Christianity, and they even say that Queen of Sheba came from Ethiopia. She got pregnant by Solomon, and now that the Ten Commandments and the Ark of the Covenant is actually in the church in Acts. That's what they explain to all their people, and that's what they believe, and it might be the truth for all I know. But yet and still, the whole of Africa did not have Christianity. They were conquered first with Islam, and they accepted Islam. So that's why you have those who accepted Islam were conquered by Islam. Those who accepted Christianity were conquered by Christianity. Here we are taking a religion, and when this religion was used, it was used to pretty much supplicate, keep us down, keep us satisfied, make sure we were the best slaves we could possibly be, or we should aspire to be the best type of slave. Pretty much to keep us from rebelling. You're not going to get your heaven here on earth. It's coming in the afterlife if you're a very good slave. So when do we at least question that narrative, or question how we received Christianity and how we at the same time received Islam?
I question all of it. I mean, really, not saying I'm not a Christian, not saying I don't believe in Christianity at all. I believe you can always add to information, right? You can always give more information, more clarity, more answers, basically. So yeah, we might have got it from a bad place, but no matter where you get it from, it didn't have to be Christianity. It could have been any religion. As long as you have a religion, you have a code, some type of belief system, I can respect that, right? So the mechanics of it, because to me, I see similarities in a lot of different religions, even though they all have differences. I see similarities. So yeah, I see it came to us by slavery, by these other means, but that doesn't make me automatically reject it, right? Because it still does it answer these questions for me? Does it give me this basic path of how to live a good life? That's the first thing. Does it preclude and say that this is all the information there is, it's all the information there'll ever be? No, it doesn't. If it says, okay, this is how you live a good life, and there's more information that can be interpreted to be changed, I say that's a good religion. That's something I can do with. I mean, a lot of stuff that, like, I listen to Jordan. Jordan's 26. He's a young guy. He's just getting out there. Once you get to the point where you're kind of looking at the end of your life, and I know I'm not necessarily looking at the end of my life, but you start having these questions of, okay, how long is life supposed to last? Do I want life to last forever? And all these, what happens afterwards? Mm-hmm. Like science, that's where science has been failing us so far. And I hope they keep studying and trying to answer those questions, because if they have an answer to me of exactly what death is and exactly will I not, I won't just not exist anymore. There's actually something more. That would actually make me feel more comfortable with life. And
be careful, Rodney.
About to die, right?
Be careful with that, because when they come up with that chip, when they say, "Hey, here's a chip. If we insert this chip, Mark of the Beast, in your brain, You'll live forever and have all the knowledge in the world ever. And then you get people doing it, they're freaking out. And they come, but they live extra long, and they know they have all the answers to everything. But every once in a while, you just see a tear just drop from the eye to no fucking
in a sunken place.
Do you take the chip and insert the chip in your head?
But realistically,
science will
no. This goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where it's like, yeah, like no one has all the answers, and maybe that's the way the universe is meant to be. Maybe we're not supposed to have all the answers. Maybe we're supposed to die still asking those questions, and questions we won't know until we die, or blah 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 blah. I don't know. That's why I never want to completely just try to discredit Christianity or even science or anything. Where it's like, I don't know all the answers. They don't know and I believe that they don't know all the answers either. Like when I go to church and I see a reverend or something like that, all that keeps going through my head is like, this is just a guy. This is another guy who grew up in Chicago, live a similar life to mine, and to think that he has all the answers is a little bit pompous to think that. You know what I mean? So my thought process is no one has all the answers, and to pretend like you do have all the answers is pompous.
Hey, Twan, what was your original question?
Religion makes us comfortable with that. Right?
No, yes, but the way that it's perceived in so many times is religion makes us feel like we have all the answers, and these are the answers. This is the answer.
But Dave, the original question was the way that we receive religion, right? It came through either conquest, slavery, whatever you want to call it. Does that make you question the religion that you have received?
It does make me question the religion that I've received if it was received without us pretty much having the choice on receiving it or not. But honestly, the past is the past, and like, what do we do moving forward as a community? I think that if individuals practice Christianity, but they don't use it in a negative way, or they don't support the use of it to oppress another group of people, and if they find that Christianity helps to establish a certain moral compass within their family and within future generations for the betterment of their family and for the betterment of the community, it's all good. I think the issue comes when people start putting the faith in front of community, when people start using the faith and like oppressing specific sections of our community and so on and so forth. That's when the issue arises. But yeah, to answer your question, it does make me question it, but I also put everything into proper time context and kind of move forward with that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone disagrees with that.
Are we black first or are we Christians first? Which one?
Black first.
Rodney?
Gotta be black first, man. I can't lie about being black, right? You can say I'm not really a Christian. Judas. I don't believe in Jesus. Can't lie about being black.
How about you, Dave? You Christian first or you black first?
I'm black first.
Okay. Dad.
Yeah, I don't know about y'all.
Dad.
They can't hear me, but
Are you Christian first or you black first?
I'm a man of God.
He said he's a man of God first.
Hey, being a man of God is being black first. I think they both mean the same thing to a certain extent. I think we as individuals, and you can corroborate this within the Bible, we are gods. So if
little gods, yeah.
God,
it's in there.
God, or if you're a God, then you know what, you're doing both at the same time.
But when we pass away, don't we all turn gray?
Yeah, we do.
Everybody, white people turn gray too.
This is just our challenge.
We're a dusky shade of gray, though.
But then again, scientifically, that's a lack of blood within the vessels.
I can hear you.
I can't. The mom said,
Every time we try and no matter you called us and so did Rodney, when we accepted, put the little check on the box and so we understand, then it said, okay, into the thing, when okay, accept, it says you're not allowed.
Try going on the computer. Or you on the computer or on your phone? Are you on the computer or on the phone?
Computer. It's on the computer the whole time.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try to send it again and maybe it'll work. But I say close it down. Close down the computer and try it again.
everything is closed down. So go ahead and send the should pop up. Yes, I don't know.
All right. Yeah, I'm still struggling with trying to get my dad back on here. But yeah, so I don't know. Rodney, any other thoughts? Jordan, you've been dropping a lot of dimes.
You know, it's interesting listening to Dad and Jordan go at it a little bit because they're both totally different ends of the spectrum. And I find that, you know, both of them. Jordan, you still identify as Christian?
I don't know. I mean, it's like if I can say yes, you know what I mean, but like in my head, it's like, what does it even mean? Because I honestly know that I don't know. And to say that yes, 100%, this is the answer, it doesn't really feel right with me. So I don't know.
Well, when I say Christian, all I'm saying is believe in being Christ-like and believe that Christ died for your sins.
I believe in being Christ-like, and I believe that Jesus was a real person.
Do you believe he died for your sins?
He probably did.
All right. Okay, so yeah, they're both kind of.
But it's like a guy named Jesus probably really did die on the cross, and he probably really did say, you know, oh, my Father, you know, yada, 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 as he died, you know what I mean? But does that mean that is like the true answer to everything, and we're all going to heaven because of him?
I think Rodney said it.
I don't know.
I had a discussion with Rodney yesterday, and we were talking about this a little bit. And I think the point really is, if you're raised in something, it's really hard. Even as you get older and you know, you start to learn different things, you get different pieces of evidence from other places. It's hard to say that what you were raised in is wrong, especially if you were told that really depends on your mortal soul, and if it was gonna, you know, if you're gonna have an afterlife. Right?
Seriously, and you're told if you don't believe it, you're going to hell. Hell's a scary thought to teach a little 8-year-old, you know.
Yeah.
One, I think it has a lot to do with biology as well, right? If throughout your younger years you're constantly told that this is the only way, this is the only belief, you become hardwired into believing that. So you're talking about reversing years of certain neural pathways being laid down, neurons being laid down, and that's extremely difficult to do. So, I mean, it does require a lot of your prefrontal cortex to be able to maybe overcome some of that's been established. But, you know, I think it takes time. Like, you can gain all the information you want, but if the core of you believes, because you've been hardwired to do so, believe a certain way, then it's difficult to reverse that or accept any dissenting view.
And then the Bible is it lays that peanut butter on even thicker, because it's like, yeah, if you believe in any other God, you know, you're going to hell. There will be false prophets. You know, there's going to be all these players out there for you to feature. Knowledge will be increased, but people will become more. It says all this stuff. You're like, okay. Now again, that people kind of just looking at the people and saying, this is what's happening right now. This is what it will always happen. Or is that just, you know, the gospel truth? That's exactly what has happened.
You know what the beautiful thing is, though, Twan? For those
I was in my bedroom.
For those who decide to subscribe to Christianity and not to turn away and to say that Jesus is the only way, if they do not use it in my understanding of what a bad way is, that means causing significant harm to other people, oppressing other people on the basis of frivolous, superficial things, things of that nature, then it's a beautiful thing. It don't even matter. You know what I mean?
Know.
So like if they stay within that place, but they're still doing good for the Black community, they're still doing good for their family, for their local environment, like, you know, if they decide to stay in that place, it's all good.
This is the issue with
good for them. If the KKK is donating a whole bunch to the community and helping kids inside of the school, blah, 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 yada, 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 but we know what they truly believe tends to be a little bit, you know, dangerous. What do we do in that situation?
So my belief is this: if someone believes something so deeply, they're going to live it out and they're going to act it out. So you're not going to see the KKK.
You might. The KKK believes that whites are the supreme race. If their entire neighborhood is white, they're going to do that.
Oh, I thought you were talking like specifically for another group. So going against their core belief. That's what I thought you were inferring.
No.
Because if that's the case, I don't foresee the KKK like helping the Black community without having some ulterior motive or.
Well, I wasn't inferring
like,
that. I was inferring the KKK helping their white community be better and everything, doing a bunch of stuff that you would see and say, "Oh man, they're great." What? That's the KKK? Oh my God, I can't believe it. They're all in the schools helping with.
Guess what?
Study.
Guess what, bro? If they were not harming other people that aren't like them, I would be completely fine with that. But the issue comes when a extreme group like that starts hurting and affecting other groups of people. I think it's okay.
You don't think Christianity can hurt non-Christians? You don't think that happens? It's happened all throughout history, and it still happens today.
But again, the point is this: when you have individuals take Christianity and use it to hurt other people, I think that's wrong. But for those individuals that use it to elevate themselves, to become better people, to better themselves within their community, that is completely positive.
You're gonna find that guy that says, when you take the Klan's message and you use it to hurt people, I'm not all for that. We're all about white pride, patriotism, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. You can do the same exact thing.
But I'm saying though, you're gonna have people who stick to strictly that, just like you have black nationalists who aren't out there killing white folks or doing anything like that. They're completely involved in the betterment and improvement of the black community. I think that's completely fine. The issue comes when you have those individuals who have other motives and different ways of trying to further their ideology of what they believe to be right.
I don't know. I may disagree with that a little bit, mainly because I think it can be dangerous to teach children, I'll say children specifically, something that we know to be factually incorrect. And to teach it to them as truth. I think that's like I talk with Carl all the time.
I'm not saying that. I hope that's not what you're getting. What I'm saying. Get what I'm saying. I totally agree with you.
Do you believe that there are things in the Christian belief that could be seen as factually untrue?
Yeah.
Do you think that it could be possibly dangerous to teach these things to children?
What things are you referring to?
Look. I'm asking broad questions.
Well, I think you got to be a little more specific because there's
okay. Let's say Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark. We know that we all know the story, and when you really think about it, it kind of doesn't make sense. We know there are millions of species of animals. How big did this boat have to be? Animals eat other animals, so so what was the deal with that? You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. We can go on all day. Can you foresee in the future the detriment that can cause? Or do you say, man, it's just parables and morals and it's okay?
So
I don't see the detriment. I don't see that it's impossible.
Okay. Give an explanation.
Is there an issue with preaching, or not preaching, but teaching creationism in schools? And
probably
that pretty much shut everything else down. Like like Jordan was saying before, if you have a doctrine that's very old, and you just say, well, this is the truth, and now that can't change. It's immutable. How do you then roll from that? How do you have a group of children, but that's like my son right now, right? Put him in a Christian school on purpose for, because I want him to have a base, but he doesn't believe in evolution. Not saying that evolution is the truth, but he's not willing to open up. And so did I, in a way, give him an arrow of the path?
Here's the great thing about modern times. We live in the era of information, right? So yes, the influence you have a heavy influence on your posterity, on your children. That's definitely true. But at some point, their brain becomes developed to the point in which they can be independent thinkers, and they'll have the ability to take massive amounts of information and make sense of it. And through the culmination of making sense of it, they come up with a philosophy or ideology that they feel is best suited for them. So I think because of the time context we live in, that potential negative impact of Christianity on your children is decreased.
Okay. Let me ask you this. This is something that me and my father really debated on a night or so ago. I think that Christianity, the issue that I have with Christianity is not what it teaches, right? Except for, I think it makes people just a little bit apathetic. And that's with the gospel of salvation, which I believe in, but at the same time, it's you shouldn't be calling me. You have to get the invitation. I think it's I think it's like the most apathetic religion. Like if you're in Islam, you're supposed to pray 5 times a day. You have to keep certain laws, and you have built certain societies that are a lot safer. Let's say in some place like the United States of America, which purports itself to be a Christian nation, right? Now, Christianity is just telling people, hey, as long as you accept Jesus into your heart, you're saved. So do whatever you want to. Therefore, people don't try to do better. They don't keep any of the laws. Now, one thing that my son wants to do is he wants to keep some of the laws. So the debate was, hey, are the laws important? Now, the fundamentalist in the family is saying the laws are not important. So you don't need those laws, so they're out the window. All you need is salvation, and follow Jesus' laws, which is love everybody as the Lord your God loves you, love your wife, good. However, all of the other laws, 10 commandments, all the laws we find in Leviticus, they were all put there for a reason, right? So why not look at that and say, okay, these laws are put for a reason. Let's try to follow these laws and hold ourselves to a higher standard than what we are holding ourselves to right now. In the Black church specifically, we're not really focused on the laws, on keeping the laws that probably came out of Africa, from African, that the Europeans took from Africa and are giving back to us in the guise of Christianity, and they added to it salvation.
Hey, my question for you, Twan, would be, what's the issue with people being fundamentalists if they decide to be that?
Nothing. I'm saying the laws. I'm talking about the law. So the law, if you follow those laws fundamentally, that's great. I think that's actually a good thing. I think that would make Christianity a better religion. But people have no interest in actually following the laws. They just say, okay, well, I accepted Jesus into my heart, so I'm good. So I can sell drugs. I can have sex with all the women I want to have sex with. I can be gay. I could do whatever.
Hey, Twan, I like what you're saying. You're basically saying, hey, if you're going to be a Christian, be a true Christian.
Exactly. Be all the way, keep all the laws. And that's going to make you, if you're going to talk about religion making somebody better, it'll make you better if you actually follow it.
Do you think in some way Christianity can evolve to allot some of these things that you're talking about?
They're trying to.
Do you think that will be detrimental to the religion?
You said to allot or to allow?
To allow. Do you think that would be detrimental to the religion?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the laws are put in there for a reason, right? So we have these laws. The laws, obviously, they came from years and years of people trial and error, and they figure out what works, what doesn't work, and they say, okay, let's do this. At the end of the day, if you just say, okay, well, and I'm just saying the way it was given to us with this white Jesus, right, with blue eyes and blue hair, with the sun behind his head. Talk about why the sun is behind his head in every picture you see of him anywhere. But because you believe in him, he died for your sins, you're good. You don't worry about anything now. Don't worry about keeping any of those laws. And if you don't keep the laws, if you backslide a million times, you'll be okay.
You know what I think, Twan? I think the exact opposite. I think that if Christianity is not allowed to conform with times, that it will soon pass away. It will be obsolete.
No, I don't think you disagree. Say it again.
Christianity will pass away if it's not allowed to conform with the times.
Exactly. So that would make it what? Not a true religion. How's that a true religion that's mutable, that's changing through time?
Like the genes.
Because
I think that's the best type of religion with the ability to survive.
There was a time when they thought if you sin, the way to make up for it so you can get into heaven was to pay money, right? Then along came this guy, Martin Luther. He wrote these, I forget what it's called, but he nailed it on the doors of a church. And Martin Luther decided, and the people who followed him decided that, paying money is not how you get into heaven. There's another way to go about it. So, I mean, the religion itself has changed over the course of the years. I mean, it is what it is. You have Catholics, you have the Christians, you have the Seventh-day Adventists, you got your Mormons, and they all have some kind of Christian sect to it. Mormons say you can have more than one wife. Baptist says I can only have one. I mean, I'm a Baptist because I was born a Baptist. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
religion is very flexible.
We have to study each one of those different sects. I think it's important to really study them in depth to figure out how they came about, who the originator was. You had the Church of England that came out of Catholicism. That was the first real break from the Catholic Church. And why did it happen? It happened because Henry the 18th or Henry the 8th, whatever his name is, he wanted to have a divorce from his wife. And the Catholic Church, didn't want to give it to him. So he said, okay, well, I'll come up with my own church. So it's like.
And not just that, like early Christian religion sprung out of Egyptian religion. Like
yes.
if you read of a lot of the Egyptian leaders, you know what I mean? They're guys like Osiris who have a very similar story to Jesus. You know what I mean? And when we can do this all day, but then it goes back to what I was talking about with David a while ago, where it's like, what is the proper interpretation? I think there is no proper interpretation. And that's where it gets to, like, there is no right way. There is no perfect way to do this. So to tell someone that they have to do it a certain way, I think is wrong. And also to tell someone that they're doing it the wrong way, I think is an issue.
Hey, bro, I would have to disagree with you on one thing. I believe that Judaism actually came from probably a number of religions within Mesopotamia, which was a polytheistic community at first, because that's where Abraham came from. And Hebrew, I think the etymology of that actually means to like cross over and cross the river. So Abraham crossed over the Jordan River, he established a new territory, and that's where the Abrahamic religion or Judaism kind of comes from. And obviously he had various influences and texts to his disposal. And then it goes from there. And then obviously it leads up to Moses, and Moses goes back to Egypt. So goes to Egypt and so on and so forth. So I'm not in Mesopotamia, if I'm not mistaken, was a community or society that formed prior to ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt was shortly after it. And obviously you have different groups of people coming together to form those different societies. So I wouldn't quite say that. Ancient
Egypt goes all the way back to 3500 BCE when they came to prominence. So you said
Mesopotamia goes back further than that.
Okay.
Okay, look, that may be true, but long story short, there are similarities across religions, and they come from a common thread, and like David was saying, a universal truth. But the thing is that universal truth will be different depending on where it evolved, like the environment that was around, the people that made it, whether they were Asians or were they Africans or were they Middle Easterners. It will be different, but there is a common thread that goes across it. So to say that, one way is the right for sure way and another way is the wrong way, I think that's where the issues come.
Yeah.
Hey,
I can see that perspective.
That was solid. And we could really keep going on and on and on, but for the sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the broadcast right now. All right. I want everybody to hold on. We got one viewer. Thanks for coming in. You came in a little bit late. If you want to, go ahead, rewind and check out this crazy ass podcast.
I know, right?
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the viewing now. Hey, thanks for listening. For all those that chimed in, thank you for participating. And this way, hey, you guys hold the line. Don't hang up though, okay?
Yeah, all right.
Logical conclusion out.